So we have two very special guests today. We have the famous attorney, Anh Phoong.
Hi.
And we have her wonderful husband, TJ.
Who's not an attorney.
Who is not an attorney. So, any advice you hear today from TJ, you can just throw that out the window.
Trophy husband talk.
No. TJ is very knowledgeable. Actually, I recently met TJ at a party. And he impressed me with his understanding of PI, even not being an attorney. He knows the game inside and out. So don't take this as legal advice from him, but listen to him. Run it by your attorney first, but he knows what he's talking about. And Ann is just, I just opened a practice in Manteca, and literally a block away from my practice, your sign is there at a bus stop. Something wrong, call Anh Phoong.
Well, I feel like a kid in a candy shop because I commute on 580 and I look at Ann every single day when I'm going up and down.
I tell people that all the time. Like, do you ever say hi to me? I say hi back, and there's people who are like, oh, I've never seen your boards, and then they meet me, and then they'll text me a message. I can't stop seeing you now. But I just signed another deal with like a whole bunch of boards in Stanislaus and San Joaquin. Again.
Oh,
so
okay.
You're going to continue to keep seeing me.
I love it. Awesome.
Well, welcome.
Well, so Ann and TJ have been in the world of personal injury since 2012. So over a decade now, starting just in their spare bedroom. Ann has built her firm from 1 to 70 employees. I'm going to give her a little clap for that. That is freaking amazing. Yeah. Handling cases all throughout CA. TJ doesn't practice law, but he has a crucial liaison between medical providers and the law firms. So, let's check it out.
Got that rear view action too.
Wow.
Yeah. It's nice when they have these dash cams on here. Probably makes your job a little bit easier, huh, Ann?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, how often do you feel like the dash cam comes into play with your cases?
Ooh, I mean, it's always nice to have it. So obviously we don't have it as enough as, we would like, but probably like 15 to 20%. We do giveaways and give dash cams because we're like, get it, because there's always going to be, even in the case where it seems so clearly that it's not your fault.
Right.
And it helps, so yeah.
Yeah, reacting to this as the expert here, what did you see? What does it look like? How would you approach this?
Well, I mean, I don't see an issue with liability in it. It seems pretty clear.
The one that came across, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm like, make sure I've seen the same thing here.
Did you see something different?
I see a disputed liability as far as what she deals with, right? And just to say, I'm not the attorney, so that's not on what I do.
Yeah.
But just seeing the patterns right there, the guy on the right is going to say the other guy was speeding.
Right.
The guy on the left is going to say he interrupted his lane of travel, right? Problem with this is if this car accident came into, and again, I look at it as I'm in the trenches with the pre-litigation attorneys, but you're going to have pointing the finger, he said, she said, right? And so with that happening, the only way to really tell, because what ends up happening, what we see on the front lines is guy goes out there, the guy hits him, he goes, sorry, I didn't see you. Afterwards, no police come. He goes back, talks to his insurance adjuster.
Yeah.
Insurance adjuster could be saying, you don't have to accept. Who's to say whose fault it was? And then now, instead of doing the right thing, now it's about saving money.
Yeah, it just gets messy quick.
And the only way the guy that's going straight is going to prove himself is if he has a card that has a black box that has a download, which can cost $1,200 to $1,500 to do, so they could see how fast he was going. Because if he wasn't going fast, then the other guy most likely interrupted his travel, unless he just wanted to hit him.
So you don't think they could tell from the video how fast he's going?
And here's the thing. There's technology and things are changing. So depending on the video camera that you have in your car, because there's different kinds, right? Accident reconstructionist and even the camera itself can actually, you can see the speed. You can tell the speed that you're going, but it isn't done to the naked eye. But there are cameras available, which that's what we're working on getting ourselves for. Clients, think about it. What if you're an Uber driver, right? Everybody wants to go after them, right? And at the end of the day, it's your livelihood. So how does that work where if somebody alleges it's your fault, how do you prove that you? Why would you not have a camera, even if not for an accident purpose? But let's say that the passengers are saying that you're being unprofessional, or that you're being a weirdo, right? Because you are a stranger.
Yeah, because they have those cameras that face out, and then they go in at.
Why would you not? We would love to give some away and be a part of protecting people. It's not just about suing people.
Yeah.
It's about just the truth.
Yeah. Especially when it's your job. You're literally in your car driving people around.
It's your
all day long.
livelihood.
And you don't know these people.
And with inflation, how many Uber drivers have it as their second job to help to make ends meet? And if someone goes and makes an allegation against you to get a refund or to make a claim, is that fair if you didn't do anything wrong?
Yeah. No, it's a good protection for yourself.
Yeah, when we were talking to another accident attorney, they were discussing how when the economy goes down, they find more and more of these claims come through, and it's those people looking for a check. And I think that's speaking to what you are talking about, is that the disconnect between what actually happened and how we present it in either the court of law or whatever, it can get messy.
It just feels like if people only were educated on what to do in a car accident, which Anne's working on that.
Well, we wouldn't have a job.
Well, no, but it's still people could be proven wrong, dead in the face, and still argue, right?
Yeah.
I mean, but the whole point is, if you knew. So what happens in a lot of counties, and the thing is, COVID has completely changed the landscape, right? You have a lot of times, and it's gotten better, but law enforcement, when don't come out unless there's a major injury, somebody gets hauled off to it by an ambulance, then they're forced to come out. But if they don't, because you're in shock at the beginning, you don't know. And they say, just exchange information. Well, who's going to prove who was at fault? You have to have someone there to see it.
Yeah.
Or do an investigation. And the problem is you get a lot of people. Do you guys realize, I think that what would you say, 10, 20% of cases that our office sees a month could be side swipes and T-bones.
Yes.
Right?
Probably
And then,
more.
but what do you do? Well, I swear it's not my fault.
Right.
There's cameras. Can you get it? Well, the Department of Transportation has, you can't just say, give me a copy of the footage. You have to send a subpoena or and it takes some time. Do you see that the problem is the economics part of it is you can't prove. It's he said versus she said, red light, green light. And it's for us, it's sad because someone's really hurt.
Yeah.
Well, when you think about it, like from a cost point standpoint, these cameras are like $40. They're as cheap as $40, like $25, or they can get fancy and expensive. But like just to protect yourself, you put that on your car. Then if there's ever dispute, there's really no issue, right?
Yeah.
And they, we've seen these helpful in cases where, when we get the minor property damage.
Yeah.
And doesn't look like there's an accident, and you have the camera facing inward inside the car. We had our client. On the outside, there's that scratch on both vehicles. Not even sometimes it's one vehicle looks like nothing. The other vehicle is
all messed
mangled.
up.
But
Yeah.
no, in this case, they both had like scratches. Didn't even look like they got hit. But then when you look at the video and you watch the impact of how the impact looked like and was felt in the body movements, it would have looked like a totally different type of accident.
Interesting. So it helps you not just figure out who's at fault, but it helps you tell the story of how the injury impacted the person.
Yes.
When you go through law school and all that stuff, which I've been through law school, just I'm not an attorney. And after you graduate, you get into business, you get in the field, you learn. It's not law school just taught you the basics, right?
Yeah.
In car accidents itself, there's the biomechanics part of it, and there is the medical part of it. And if you are in this business, you need to understand how medical works, injuries, and how people get better, and kind of giving them. I don't want to say a roadmap, but just say, hey, typically this is what happens. Your shoulder, you can't lift it up above your head from this car accident, your seatbelt shoulder. Okay, does that make sense that maybe the seatbelt messed it up, right?
Right.
The average, I think we've seen some statistics, the average person in a car accident, when they're in the car accident, their head is approximately 2 inches away from their headrest, and their hands are supposed to both be on the steering wheel, right? Mm-hmm. But that camera, what if you were at a stop sign and you leaned over to get your purse or something on the ground and you get rear-ended? Does that treat you the same as the person who was sitting with their head approximately 2 inches
Right.
away from the seat? No, it's not. And does that
Definitely
matter?
not.
Yes.
Complete different
And
mechanism.
it also, or what if you got hit in a truck? You're in a truck with a trailer hitch on it.
Yeah.
Now, in the truck, it's the steel frame. The trailer hitch is connected to that frame. You can have a truck that looks like on its face. And in certain insurance companies say, oh, send the pictures. Oh, it looks like it's nothing. How do you know that without taking it apart? It's a truck. And the big thing is the frame damage is underneath. And guess what? There's studies that show that trailer hitch can act like a lightning rod, and the inertia goes through your truck into your body, and you can get more hurt than if you had some regular car. But the damage itself doesn't. How could this guy be hurt? He must be lying. He must have had pre-existing injuries or something.
Yeah. You got to understand that stuff.
Yeah.
And you are now licensed in Nevada as well, right?
I am licensed in Nevada.
Awesome.
Yes.
And
So
maybe-
California and Nevada. So
Did I hear a few other states maybe coming soon too?
yes, applications are in, and so Arizona, Washington, and Texas.
Awesome.
Congratulations.
So
Thank you.
before we get into everything, just tell me so our listeners can hear, why choose Anh Phoong as their law firm? If someone's in an accident, there's a lot of law firms they can call. Why choose Anh Phoong?
I'd like to say that what really distinguishes us is that we are just real, and like we'll give it to you real 100%. No BS, no. And the way I'm talking right now is the way I talk to my clients. So I'm not going to try and make myself sound like I'm super smart. It's more just like being identifiable and being relatable to the clients. And I feel like that's a little bit different edge that we have. And so if I can help you, if you come in and you've got a case and I can help you, I will help you. If you come in and I can't help you, I'll say I'm sorry, or I think you could do this yourself. It's not rocket science here. There's a lot of cases that I've turned away because I felt like, hey, I'm not going to add value. And if I'm not going to add value, I don't need to be on your case. Like, you could do this yourself.
Yeah.
So it's like that honesty, and just like from that perspective of not just like, oh, I can earn a fee on this. I could take on so many more cases. But the reality of it is if there's certain things that people may not need an attorney's help on.
Yeah.
And there's sometimes, I think that having that truth and just that honesty with people is respectable. So that's why.
I mean, I know I appreciate that, for one, because a lot of attorneys, I don't feel like are upfront about that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And they'll just take anybody. Any case they'll take on. And sometimes they probably know very well that case is not going to settle well, and that every doctor that touches that patient is going to get screwed on their bill.
Yeah.
And they should have never taken the case on to begin with, but they don't care. Me and TJ were just talking about this before the show, about you earn a reputation about how honest you are and how open you are with people.
The problem is each part of California kind of does things differently, right? There's a different setting in Southern California than Northern California, right? And you see a lot of new players come in Northern California, right? Chiropractors, pain management doctors, attorneys, right? And I think there's a sense that people, they see the grass is greener over here. But I like to think it's also because we are a community out here. And it's more community. It's not dog versus dog, right? It's about relationships. And I think that the most important thing in this industry that a lot are moving away from, it's not the golden egg, it's the goose. It's the relationship, it's not the transaction. And I think that that's the most important thing. A lot of people they're so focused on that one thing, and it's like, and it even goes for clients. And the attorneys, they say, we're not just your attorney. We're like your accountant too. You have to understand like how much, resources or things that you have for you. And so they get the best outcome. Because how many times do people have bad taste in their mouth because the attorney got paid 45, 50%, whatever, and everybody else got money, and the client, for their pain and suffering, what do they walk out with?
Right.
And I think that goes into accountability. In the very beginning, when we started, people would say, you hear from the OG attorneys, right? It's hard to mess up a PI case, because you got 2 year statute of limitations. So we treat it, and Ann's vision was that it's like the beginning of the case is the most important, right? Educating your clients on what you've seen for these type of similar pain and injuries. You know, a lot of places, the staff that's working on the front lines don't even know what radicular symptoms mean.
Yeah.
Don't you guys, I mean, this is just me, not an attorney. Don't you think if you're dealing with medical and injury, you should know what it, kind of the right direction, what tingling in your fingers means?
Yeah.
Right? Or the fact that you're having frontal lobe headaches, what, you've never had that before, and you're having mood swings. Concussions is something that's kind of a big thing now, but yet it's still not, there's not like a golden standard on how to deal with it. If the chiropractor or physical therapist or a PCP that they see all the time, hey, how did it help? Well, what's going on this week? Well, man, I lost my car in the parking lot. I lost my key. I yelled at my wife or my husband, and I don't know why I'm going through this.
Yeah.
I can imagine how people feel if they got no direction on, explain on just on how this, it might be this or it might be that, you know, or whatever. Education and educating your clients is important.
It's funny that you say that too, because I feel like I have the exact same conversation teaching young doctors how to be better chiropractors. Yeah. And concussions is what actually got me into chiropractic. And, you know, everyone just thinks chiropractic is neck pain, low back pain. We don't affect anything when it comes to nerves. When you start working on these PI cases, it's almost always going to be the radicular neck symptoms. It's going to be the foggy brain from the whiplash or even some head impact. And it's funny to hear TJ say that, because that's exactly how I go to my staff.
Huh?
Exactly.
You're
I'm like, thank you. I just going to record that clip right there.
I think that education for every doctor that's involved, it's important, because you are the advocate, gladiator, the guardian angel of that patient to make them better. So why not expand your horizons? And hey, the landscape's always changing, medical stuff. But the problem is that law is one of the most archaic industries. The last to kind of advance, right? And a lot of good things are happening lately. And I think that as all of us together, let's not hoard information. Let's share it with each other.
Well, I did have a question about neurology and what he was talking about. Do you guys know a good neurologist in the Bay Area?
There's a few.
Yeah, because that is something I don't feel like they taught us super well in chiropractic school about all the different technologies that are out there for diagnosing concussion.
Correct.
And so sometimes it is hard to find a neurologist who will work on a lean as well. And so that's probably my weakest link in my referral network.
And I think to go to that, like, I think it's a great question that you're asking. It's like asking for help. If you don't know, ask, right? And then all together, and I think it goes to what TJ is trying to say is educating like everybody on board in the whole process, the lawyers, the attorney, the clients. Let's everybody get more educated. And if you don't have the resources, you can say to the attorney, hey, do you know anybody, right? Or your colleagues, or, you know, if we don't know, we go ask, right?
Yeah.
But it all goes back to that basis of, you know, putting the client first, the patient. And if we don't know, we can definitely find and all together work together. And that's what it's about.
Yeah, that's it. So I'll hit you guys up later.
Sure, yeah.
TJ expected a text from me later about give me a neurologist. He was really cool about helping me out with something the other day. He's so responsive.
That's what I'm trying to say.
That's
though,
one thing
right?
I love about you guys is very responsive.
Yeah.
And the communication, I think, is. I mean, I feel like it's super important. How do you? What is your take on communication with the doctors and the patient and everybody involved in the case?
Everything. I mean, like I said, if we don't have communication with each other, like, how do we even know what the heck is going on, right? Like, you may be communicating to the client, and then the client's not communicating to us, or vice versa, or we're communicating with you, and then the client doesn't. It has to be like a full circle thing where everyone is all on the same line, right?
Yeah.
And there's lots of times that someone drops the ball on that. But it's about, not that it doesn't happen, it happens, right? Where there's a disconnect, right? Oh, we didn't coordinate with the client, or we didn't approve the lien, or some kind of something that happens. But it's all about identifying those errors or communication issues and fixing it. Because it's different for every case, right?
For sure.
And it's different for every, doctor that you work with, and different for every lawyer. You might have one kind of, method or way with, this type of lawyer, and then expect that with the next lawyer, and it's not that. And same with us. We might say, oh, we worked with, this is a chiropractor. This is how it should be done. But then you work with another chiropractor down the street, and then it's totally different. Then you bring in the whole flux of it being different, like what TJ said is Northern California is different than Southern California, which is different from Nevada and Texas.
Oh, yeah.
Even though, let's say, in the hub of California, we're all practicing the same law. You're under the same, medical criteria when you, get your chiropractor license, right?
Yeah.
So there should be some theory of like consistency and everything, but everyone does it different. And I think that the whole bringing it back to communication is it doesn't matter how you do it. It matters how we understand how each other does it, right?
So it's like we all think we're in the law or the medical business, but it's really kind of more in the people business and the communication business and understanding the dynamic relationship between us if we're to work together versus me and another attorney or someone else.
Absolutely.
Okay. And you cut me off when I go too far. I feel like a lot of people hide behind emails and main phone lines. This is the way I feel that how it should be. This is the most successful relationships that we see, the most successful results that we see. The chiropractor has no problem talking to the attorney's office and not going through a bunch of people leaving messages. I think that people are getting away from the direct communication, right? And I know you can't just go up in front and just talk to them on, but hey, a Zoom call, a text message, direct phone communication. And I don't just mean this between an attorney's office and a doctor, because you should be having other expert doctors on different levels that you have direct access to. And if you don't, find some new ones. You should be able to, if you have an issue with something, maybe an x-ray that you ordered in the very beginning and you have these symptoms and you have a problem, you should have 2 or 3 pain management doctors, surgeons, a neurologist, people that you could pick up the phone and say, hey, Tom, I don't know, what do you think about this?
Yeah.
The chiropractors need the respect that they deserve. Right? Just because
I'll second that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
I appreciate that.
You understand how many times that, oh man, I mean, like there's times when I'm like, hey, doctor, what's going on with my client? Because, or we'll hear something from the doctor. Did you know that Kathy got in another accident? I'm like, no, this is 2 weeks ago. I'm like, yeah. So like, you understand? Like, because you see them, you're treating them, your relationship, sometimes is better than the relationship that we have with them because it's a little different dynamic, right?
It feels like we're in the trenches with them.
You are absolutely in the trenches. And that's what I'm saying.
I think that's why a lot of chiropractors get offended when they're asked to reduce their bill so much. And I'm not saying that they don't have to reduce their bills sometime. Yeah. I'm just saying that we feel like we work so hard for it. Absolutely. And just so you guys know, chiropractors, we kind of get screwed in other avenues than PI. Like we don't get paid well on the insurance side. The general public, some of them have negative opinions about us as well. So we're fighting that battle. Yeah. And PI is usually where we get paid well. So if we put our heart and soul into a case and then, some MD who also treated the patient, their bill's the same as our bill and they saw him once and we saw him 30 times or something, and we put our heart and soul into the case and we carried the whole case on our back. Yeah. And then we're expected to take this giant cut. Now, if the chiropractor didn't manage the case well and they didn't figure out communicate well and they didn't manage the policy limits, they didn't know all that stuff, and they overtreated or they did stupid stuff, yeah, they deserve to probably what's coming to them. But that's, I think, we feel undervalued a lot of times. And so I know you got something to say there.
Yes.
It's going to burst.
So, here's the thing. My wife tells me I'm the kind of guy you love or you hate. Right?
I love you, TJ.
Thank you. There's some people that this is the thing about being a doctor, okay? You have to have good bedside manner, right? Like, because I've seen some, they get business, but do those people come back?
Right.
That's the question. Because the way that we've seen, because typically this is how you'll see it. There'll be a couple percentage of population of the chiros that will they'll get 80% of the patients. Right? And there's others that it just goes through. You see Anne's face everywhere. I see it. She follows me everywhere I go when I go around, right? But do you know that like 60% of our business is referrals? We have people handing out cards on the street saying, you need to go to her. She took care of me. And that's the thing that Anne sticks to. She doesn't charge. So some people that charge 45%, right? And it's like, but Anne's fair because guess what? she guarantees that her clients will get a third of the settlement, or she'll reduce her fee to make it fair. Why is it not like again, everybody works the same.
Seems simple, right?
Right. And so the problem with being, let's say you're a new chiropractor getting into the industry, right? You can be the best guy, everybody loves you, but that's not enough in today's market. And I don't mean that you have to be just a good businessman, because there's a difference between a businessman and an entrepreneur.
Yep.
A businessman looks to he tries to increase his profits and tries to make himself more efficient. But an entrepreneur is going to be open-minded and looking for new opportunities to expand. It's visionary. And that's all we want to do, because at the end of the day, you could be a good doctor, bad businessman.
We talk about this all the time.
That was our last episode.
It's funny to see all the parallels, and we think a lot alike in a lot of this stuff.
It's the same as attorneys. We know so many attorneys that they're bad businessmen.
Yep.
And then they get forced they make desperate decisions or settle a case when it shouldn't be settled because the lights got to stay on. It's the same thing for us. We could be the greatest person in the world, but if there's someone underneath her that's no bueno, that's a cog in her business, and guess what? That's a reflection on her.
Yep.
And it's the same thing for any business. And that's why you have to have your hand on the pulse. You have to be approachable and be involved with your staff to make sure if you see complaints, doesn't mean you just believe in those complaints, but you have to investigate and see how you can improve. And guess what? If there's a bad apple in your basket, that could be deterring you from getting busier.
Yeah, and it also spoil the whole basket. That's what I've seen.
And
I wanted
nothing demoralizes good team members than the boss putting up with bad team members.
It's hard.
Yeah, and then they have to carry the weight of the company to make up for the team members that are not pulling their weight or that are dragging everybody down.
One thing that I wanted to find out about your guys' business, we see the billboards, we see you everywhere, we've heard amazing things about how you take care of your clients, but how do we get there? Like, what were the big steps that you guys took? What were the big risks that you guys took?
Yeah.
Can you give us a little rundown of those little
Sure.
things?
So like I said, from 1 to 70, right?
Right.
I mean, it was a lot of being told no my whole life. Like, so I couldn't get into law school, didn't score high enough, couldn't get into a regular law school that was ABA accredited. So I went to Lincoln Law School, so I met TJ. And before I could even get in there, it was like, no, you're not good enough. Your score wasn't good enough, which makes sense, I guess, right? So I had to take it again. And then even after getting a job, after graduating law school, I couldn't get a job. And that's how we're like, okay, well, why don't I just start a firm? I'm like, start a firm. A little bit about PI. I worked, with a guy. And so, but I was like, if he could do this, I could do this. I have a license. I could do this. And, we decided. I was like, as husband and wife, was like, do you want to make this jump? And I'm like, all right, let's do it. So that was the start of the firm.
The entrepreneurial
instinct. And all I knew how to do was be a lawyer. That's all I went to. I didn't go to business school, right? I mean, so it's that fine balance of being the entrepreneur and lawyer, right? So anyways, started from our home. The entrepreneur side, it's like, you ain't got no money. Don't run out a business, right? Don't rent out a suite, nothing. And that's how I started from our home. And it was just, me and TJ. And what we did, I didn't have an advertising budget like I do now.
Right.
No millions of dollars to spend. We had nothing. We just got out of law school, right? And so we didn't advertise. What we did was grassroots, ground, on the floor, pounding the pavement. You know what I did? I took my business card, made some calendars, went to every business in town. I knocked on doors and I was like, hi.
Something
I'm
wrong?
a new attorney. Yeah, and I'm like, something wrong. And then they're like, well, what the hell? Why would I call Anh Phoong? You're 1 year license. You have no experience, Why would we go to you? So, I mean, it was crazy because we probably knocked on, and like I say, it wasn't just businesses that had to do with personal injury. So auto shops, and it wasn't just, I went to everybody.
Yeah. Anything
just to say hi. If you ever get in an accident, because that's the world that we live in. You don't have a really niche of a market. And anyone and everyone can get into an accident.
Right.
So the need for an accident attorney is really broad.
Right.
So that's why I was like, okay, nail shops, pizza shop, restaurants, everything. would ask if I could just put my business cards, in the, I mean, like, just like any other business, just trying to get network and get your name out there, right?
Right.
And just that in itself, right? I mean, probably out of every 100 businesses, we've probably worked with 1 or 2 people, right? Because the real percentage of
Yeah,
that,
for
like,
sure.
it's not, I'm not going to say, 10 out of 10 people I met with, no. I got the door slammed in my face. Yeah.
It's a numbers game.
It was getting told no again.
Yeah.
But after so many no's, right, then you really, like, and you take a lot of, in the beginning, you take a lot of cases that you don't know that you should not be taking.
Right.
Or the Prop 213s and things that you're maybe not, going to do
what's
now,
the Prop
right?
213?
The no insurance cases where the driver,
The
doesn't
at
have
fault
insurance.
doesn't have insurance.
Uninsured motorist?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
The driver, the plaintiff doesn't have insurance.
Oh, okay.
So when you don't have insurance in California, then you're limited to your recovery. Even though the person at fault has insurance.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So that's a big, so what we say that those are like, you don't want them because you're limited to your recovery to the medical bills and the specials, the lost wages and the doctor's bills. So
Of what they think is reasonable market value of your bill.
Right.
Correct.
Yeah, you're in trouble on that one.
yeah. So, I mean, so anyway, so, just, pounding the pavement. And then for years, and then we just started, then when we started small clientele business, and then we did good by them. And then they started referring their family and friends, and then their family and friends. And then for 6 years, no $0 in marketing advertisement, just like
It's all grassroots.
all grassroots. And then
And this goes with any business.
absolutely.
Okay. The problem is egos. Okay. When Ann got licensed, she didn't have an ego. Some people, a lot of people, I'm not pounding the pavement. I'm not walking but guess what?
I won't do a spinal screening. That's what the doctors say coming up,
But
right?
guess what? Ann worked in the mall before, right? I mean, and she understood sales is necessary for any business, unless you're the guy who invented the Snuggie, right? Right. You have to be able to communicate. It's not just about communication, it's collaboration. Right. And don't take it in the wrong sense, but you have to learn how to work with people.
Right.
And if you read a lot of books and you read the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, the right 1 + 1 will equal 3. Synergy is real.
Yeah.
Right. And what happens? Ann met one of the first people that she's seen end up being a big referral source that is to this day.
Yeah.
Again, it's about relationships, but there should be a goal in mind when you start out as a practice. I've seen a lot of chiropractors, the ones that I've seen that are successful, they'll pick up the phone. They see a new billboard of a new attorney. Hey, what's up? I'm Dr. John. I'm your guy. Hey, let's do this.
Hey, you up?
Yeah. But do you get it though? Like if you think you're going to be 007, who's going to know you? Whether you got advertisement or not. I want to shake. It's the only thing I try to tell people. Try to shake 30 new hands a month.
So I think that goes back to like how we built and scaled everything, right? Like it was, and so we went from 1 and then getting a legitimate office, and 6 years later, it was like time to hire a new attorney. And this is the pivotal point when I'm like, is this good enough? Is this what I want? And am I happy with this? Am I content? And that's how we started getting into the advertising and something wrong, call Anh Phoong, because the decision was made. I was like, okay, well, I believe in our service, right? I believe we're good. I believe that we can help people. And that's the biggest thing that it falls back on, right? That we're offering a good service and, feeling good in ourselves, and that we should be more available.
Yeah.
And make people be aware, of what we do that's different than the other firms. Like the first question you asked me, why choose Anh Phoong? And a lot of
You
it
believe
goes
in that.
back-
You believe that they
Yes.
should see you, and if we have a good system of caring for them,
Correct.
why not pump a whole bunch of marketing money into that so we can help more people?
And it was
Because you got a proven model.
Yes. And the biggest thing with that too was just like in our set of kind of our niche, so to speak, was what we had noticed that we were getting a lot of clients and, a lot of the minority clients, and a lot of them were saying, oh my gosh, it's so nice to see you, to have you, you're a woman,
You're like a role model
you're
for them.
Yeah, they were just, and I was like, It is nice. People don't know about me because they've, before advertising, of course we knew women lawyers existed.
But you see a lot of these,
no.
even on the billboards that exist now, you see a lot of men in their suits.
Making
You
a
know,
serious face.
you don't see
Yeah.
a lot that look like you.
Correct. And that's the biggest motivation was like, why don't we see people that look like me?
But
We're out there,
Yeah.
but we don't see and we don't know it.
Time to step out of the shadows. and
Correct.
underlight, right?
Yeah.
I think there's a couple different, because we talk about scaling up, right? And the secret to this. So for one, it's hard to find good talent, right? Somebody that you trust, right? That you're going to groom to be a manager, your right-hand man, whatever, right? Right-hand woman, whatever it's going to be. Okay, you want to train them, but are they going to be your next competitor later on? And as a business owner, that's the hardest part that of all successful people, business owners I talk to, it's the ability to let go of control, right? You groom your person that's going to be that manager, cog, whatever it is going to be, and then to trust, and again, as far as the law is concerned, right? The attorneys, they have to be educated because you're only as good as your weakest link, right? But the whole point as a business owner is to build something big. You can't do it all, and have to understand that you can't. Ann used to answer everybody that called. They used to call and they would talk directly to Ann on the call on the intake. Yeah. She actually promised that you're going to talk to me personally. Now that can't happen. Right. Just too many people. Right. But okay, then who is the person are they talking to, and do they trust them? I think the biggest thing is that the community trusts Anh Phoong.
Well, that's the cultural. You built a culture of you're the attorney that they can call and trust. So that should be handed down to the next person as well that's going to be answering the phone.
And let's be honest, a lot of our clientele is not, they aren't Zuckerberg or something. It's going to be
For sure.
the people that are regulars. Me and Ann came from the streets, right? So we identify with a lot of our clientele, lower middle class, the people that maybe you might have Medi-Cal insurance or whatever. I'm not saying it's our only clientele, but the whole point is this. We want to provide the resources and the education for people to be treated. I don't care who you are, where you're from. The whole point is if you're hurt and you want to get better.
And there's some lawyers out there that only want a certain type of client.
Yeah.
They only want, whether
you got a felony? Oh, we don't want you.
There's so
What's
many
that
cases that we've taken. I've had a man cry because we took his case and he was rejected by other law firms. And I'm like, were you at fault? No. Are you injured? Yes. Do you have insurance? I'm like, okay, then we can help you. Everything outside of that.
They were profiling him for some reason.
Yeah, and
again,
it happens though.
sometimes
Like
it's a
the reality of
factor.
it. This happens. This is the reality of it. And to each their own, right? If one firm has this criteria, they don't want this type of client or looks like this or comes from here or lives in this, that's them, that's fine. But that's what I was saying is what I think that for us, in our niche, my firm here is just that, we want to just help people. I don't care.
I understand
Shows
that
where your heart's
sometimes the
at.
mentality is, it's like, because the credibility of a potential plaintiff is a big deal, right? Especially in a brain injury, right? So, yeah. Okay, I get it that this person it's a factor. And what Ann will do is say, hey, your credibility, hey, you were a bank robber and you just sold last year, right? So yeah, is that going to have a factor that you're a liar? The whole thing is about, I don't know if a bank robber necessarily means they're a liar, but the whole point is credibility is a factor. Yeah. Does it mean they don't have a case? No.
So she looks at the case as a whole versus cherry picking one piece out and saying, I can't work with you because of this.
Some people are cookie cutter approach. If you don't fit in their box, they don't want you. And I think that's because people ask, what's the success? Why is it that when the COVID happened, right, the courts were closed?
Yeah.
So those multi-million-dollar cases weren't just going down all the time, right? Those clients, it delayed it. California, Northern California, sometimes you're up to 6 years waiting for a trial date.
Wow.
Yeah.
Versus Nevada, you get it like in a year over a year. Right. And so with that said, well, that's how insurance companies work. While the cat's away, the mice will play. And all of a sudden you get a court date. And if anybody has a big case going to trial, the pattern she sees, it's like, with a lot of cases settle within 3 or 4 months of trial. Why is that? Because it's getting real at that point. Right. And the longer the insurance companies don't have to pay out, they get to keep that money and make interest on it.
Exactly right. I've heard that same story too.
And I think there's a difference between obviously we say we will take anyone, want to help anyone, right? But it's hard because you just can't help some people. Like I said at the beginning, like if there's something that, I would never take a case where I didn't believe a client was hurt, right? Like, some people, the fake claims and, there's fraud going on. I mean, and so with taking and wanting to help people, you also have to understand that, like, we can't help everyone that comes through the door. And that's what I said about being honest up front and saying, hey, look, I think I can help you, or I don't think I can help, or here's my issue, or go somewhere else. And we've had people complain. I've had people call and leave reviews saying, oh, they couldn't take my case. And I'm like, but that doesn't have anything to do. That's why I said to each their own, right? Yeah. So, we want to help each and every person, but can we? Reality is no. Just like a doctor, right?
Yep.
You can't help every patient that comes in. And the right thing to do is say, I can't help you, but maybe try the neurosurgeon, or maybe I can make a referral to you to someone that can.
Here's the issue, okay? Is the person going to be in a better position if Ann gambles with something she may not truly believe she can win versus just being upfront and saying, hey, you know what? I don't, because at the end of the day, here's what happens. And how often have you guys seen this? Yeah, the case is great, blah, blah, blah. You treat for 6 months. You're done. You release them for care. And then you get a letter. Not even a phone call, an explanation. Oh, they were at fault. Where's that bill going?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And is that client, now at first they're glad because you took a risk and you're helping them. But then when that bill comes, you think they're going to like the attorney that dropped them?
Nope.
Now, I'm not saying sometimes things happen, right? It's outside of control. Like it's things that you find out later on. I mean,
but when you work with someone enough, there's a pattern after a while.
Again, you want to help everybody, but at the same time, does it help them if at the end you can't continue? And again, everybody, there's mistakes and things that happen, but as an attorney or a business long-term, learn from your own mistakes. Don't think that Ann hasn't made mistakes. And then when you see that pattern again, hey, I know where this can end up.
Yeah,
right?
and we're getting more of these cases as well. The space is getting bigger in our office, and you can see trends, and we're going to be better for it. We're going to be better for our clients. We're going to be able to set expectations at an initial evaluation, and that comes with repetition.
And sometimes the business you walk away from defines you more than the business you take.
There you go.
That's actually Warren Buffett. Have you listened to him say that?
You gotta quote it when you quote that.
He says the best deals the best money I ever made on deals or something was the ones I didn't do.
You walk away,
like you gotta. Number one rule in finance is don't lose money, right?
Well, also there's another thing we always say. Pigs get fat, hogs get slaughtered, right? So don't be greedy, right? And still keep your sense of business, because at the end of the day, you want people to feel happy. Not everybody's going to feel happy, because, I mean, and you know how often that you see this. Someone gets in a car accident, right? They have a $15K underinsured motorist, which that used to be California, right? Now it's changing different. Well, not everywhere, because until a lot of insurance companies are renewal of the policy.
It's June.
Yeah, it's just it depends.
January 1, it didn't go up to 36.
Like State Farm did, but other ones that they may not until the renewal, until your premiums due.
Oh, okay. So it's going to take
I would say
full year
January
for everyone
26th,
to be on the news.
So, but let's look at this though. Someone's hurt really bad, and they're getting treatment, but they can only get so much because it's resources again, right? They're mad. Why didn't they? But you have the same policy. He has a 15. How can you get mad at him versus if you were at fault and he was hurt, you're in the same shoes. Yeah. So where's the injustice?
If it was your fault instead of his, if you had made the mistake.
And when we say that, when Ann is like, hey, whoa. This is why and Ann always encourages this with these clients. You get hit and your spine is compromised, right? You have an annular tear. You have severe spinal stenosis, right? Okay, you know what? Here's the settlement. Here's what you got. Can you promise me that you'll up your uninsured motorist? Because you are Humpty Dumpty. You are an eggshell plaintiff if someone hits you, and get collision.
Yeah. Because
if you don't get collision, your insurance company is not going to fight for you on that liability because they have no exposure.
Yeah.
Can you see? Unless they have skin in the game.
Yeah. Right. They're hands off.
Right?
Yep. Let's give Ann a chance to give us her.
What about a 5-year plan?
Yeah, that'd be kind of fun. See where
5-year
get a little
plan.
glimpse into her.
Yeah, we want to know where we're going to
entrepreneurial
see
vision.
you next.
Well, hopefully we'll be launched in those 4 other states that I mentioned. So Arizona, Washington, and Texas, and what am I missing?
Oh, Nevada's already there.
Nevada. Well, Nevada already happened, so that was part of the 5-year plan. So, but yeah, so the plan is to expand, and we are actually just announced our expansion, not just like in the physical area, but to other areas of law. So something wrong, call Anh Phoong. Like people will call me for immigration, criminal law, everything. So we are in the works of potentially expanding the practice in that sense.
Okay.
But just recently, personal injury, civil related, we are getting into sexual assault cases.
Oh, okay.
Sexual abuse and sexual assault. So I'm definitely hoping to see that we take more and more of those types of cases. So expansion all around. In every
I love it.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Another force to be reckoned with that we're actually working on an app for her.
Oh.
Now. And because here's the problem. AI is coming.
Oh, yeah.
It's here.
And they're saying
it's here.
40 to 50% of jobs will be gone.
Yep.
Anybody who is not thinking about that right now, you're crazy, right? Because it's going to change for us. Management, AI is going to be there, and it's going to change for you.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And so you either get ahead of it or be the last person that got off the bus, right? Or got on the bus, should I say.
The early adopters are going to reap the rewards, and the late adopters are not going to be in the game anymore.
Yeah.
Another thing that's going to potentially change. What happened in Arizona?
I don't know what happened in Arizona.
They passed a law now non-lawyers can own law firms.
Ooh.
So you're going to have hedge fund companies and all. Well, Nevada's watching that. And if Nevada changes theirs, what do you think happens with California? Right. Is it good for the law? Maybe it might be better. Maybe it won't be a monopoly and maybe just things are fair. I don't know.
You don't think some of these firms are already getting big capital injections from...
Maybe not that they're admitting to. But, but at the end of the day, Wall Street looks at the returns on the firms. It's good taste. Because as a law firm, what's their profit margins?
Yeah, I'm just thinking, some of these big guys,
I know.
I'm sure you guys got a big budget too, but
without throwing names or anything under the bus.
I've seen some. I'm not even going to mention their name on here,
Yeah.
but you've seen them all the way from here down to San Diego.
But here's the problem. I'll tell you this: if I was a chiropractor and some law office called me talking about pro rata share, that's a red flag to me. Pro rata share, because it's not the same. Not every bill, not everything's all across the board how that works. So you we got to ignore the newness and the excitement of having a new relationship. You have to keep it's just like dating.
Yeah.
Keep your eyes for those red flag signs. Wait a minute. What did you say? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Staying true to what you want and how to take care of whoever's in front of you.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for
Thank you
driving
for
out
having
today.
us.
We
Thank you so
appreciate you.
much.
We're
Yes.
excited we got a few cases going on together now. So we got a little relationship budding. I like it.
I think that the whole point of any relationship as a business is called value add. It's not just about the cases and the business that you do together. How can we help you grow as a business partner and help you elevate to where you can be efficient and not work harder, but work smarter?
I'll tell you how you can help me.
There you go.
Other than just giving me cases, which we love, of course, but you got a great network. So if I call you and I say, hey, I need a neuro.
Yep.
I need a neuro for this concussion. Who do you got for me? And you were very helpful with me. So that was like, when I called you the other day and you just like got right on there and you're like, hey, talk to this guy, I was like, all right, this guy's in my nice list.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
The whole point is you need help, and how do I add value to it? A lot of people, again, they just think about the transaction, about what they gain from something. Sometimes you give onto others and it comes back in threefold.
I'll say one last thing that I like too is TJ, I notice, is very honest, which
Too
I
honest.
appreciate. It probably bites you in the butt sometimes,
Yeah, it
but
does.
I feel like I'm that way too. And we've always done PI, but just in the last little over a year, we've gotten more heavy into it. And so just appreciating knowing that we're going to work hard and try to give you the best we can, best documentation and best management of the case. But having a little grace just in like, hey, if we didn't handle something just right, tell me.
Yeah.
Tell me, I'll apologize, and I'll make sure I change whatever system needs to be changed in our company so that the next one around, we do it right. You know, so that's kind of what I
No
would
one's
appreciate.
perfect. It's just, do we accept each other for our imperfections and help each other grow from it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I've learned
Well
that
said.
Anh Phoong and her team is a law firm you can trust.
Oh, thank
you.
you.
All right. Well, thank you guys.
Thank you.